I have a million questions that I'm asked all the time about being an entrepreneur. What's it like, and is it scary being an entrepreneur, and how did you get started? And there's a million questions people want to ask you. And I thought to myself, bang, one day, wouldn't it be great to have an entrepreneur's masterclass where I can bring some of these unbelievable people, people like we read about them and we read their stories. They're legendary, but we only see them on film and we have visualization of what they are, but actually to sit down with them and talk to them. I thought, wouldn't that be a wonderful way to learn? Nothing's new. I remember watching the old actor classes several years ago, how they visualized and how they created their careers and how they just kept getting better and better. And I thought to myself at that time, what a wonderful way for a young person to learn the craft directly from the old guys. I thought it was a very elegant way to teach. One of the people that has navigated these ups and downs very well is my guest today, Dr. Erin Connealy. I've known Dr. Connealy for decades, and I'm a real fan, and I've been so looking forward to this interview. I can't tell you how excited I am to welcome Leigh Erin. She's one of the best role models on the planet for entrepreneurs for just so many reasons. To conduct the interview, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Tim Schulte, who's going to tell you much more about Leigh Erin's background and ask her some very stimulating questions so that she can share her experience and her secrets of entrepreneurial success with you today. Tim, thanks for facilitating today. I'm handing this over to you now, and we'll all sit back, listen, and learn.
Leigh Erin, would you mind sharing just a bit about your background and what it is you're working on today and how you got to where it is you are today?
It's all about the story, right? So I am number 3 of 6 children. I grew up in Houston, Texas. I was actually born in a border town, but grew up in Houston, Texas. And what's interesting is my mother was pregnant with me and she started bleeding. And of course, every mother would go to the doctor. And so this doctor said, I have this great drug that will prevent the bleeding and stop the miscarriage. So sure enough, my mother listened to the doctor and took that drug. When I was 16 years old, my parents received a letter stating that the drug my mother took, called DES, it's diethylstilbestrol, it's a strong estrogen, caused cancer in male and female offspring. So I started going to cancer hospitals early on because every child was to be evaluated and checked to see if anything was happening at that time. So I'd never really gone to the doctor because my mother really, you didn't take your kids to the doctor back then. You basically got over everything yourself. And so anyway, so I also took biology in high school and I loved science. And I'm like, okay, I will never forget. I was in Sister Frances Joseph's class and I went to Catholic girls' school and she had the habit, the whole garb. And across from her classroom were the Bunsen burner laboratory. And I'm like, I cannot see myself in a Bunsen burner laboratory all day long, but I'm really good at science. So what can I do that I can talk to people and use science? So I said, I can be a doctor. So I used to babysit a lot and I went to go babysit for this lady doctor. She was an ER doctor. And I said, and I picked her brain. And she goes, yeah, you can do that. So I knew right then and there at 16 years of age that I was going to be a doctor. So I'm like, okay, I got to make straight A's. Nothing was going to get in my way. Nothing. I made straight A's in college. I went to UT School of Public Health for 1 year, and then I finished that training and then transferred into medical school. And so medical school is very typical for all doctors. All right. And during medical school, I didn't have regular menstrual cycles due to the drug that my mom took. So I went to all these doctors and the doctor said, oh, you need to go on birth control pills because you don't have periods. Well, that led me down a very interesting path and I'm not going to get into now. But anyway, it made me start pondering things that I needed to know about my own personal health because here they were, giving me these pills. But anyway, I finished medical school, went to UCLA, did my training, and then I started practicing medicine. And so interesting though, I went for a job interview because there was a doctor who had a clinic and it was in Beverly Hills. And because I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and so I didn't meet with the doctor. I met with the head director of the clinic, and he goes, "Oh my God, I know the doctor is going to love you, so I want you to meet him." So I said, "Okay, fine, sure." So he flies in from Houston. He was an internist pathologist, very, very entrepreneurial kind of doctor, Russian. And so he interviewed me and he goes, "You know what? I don't want you working in this clinic. I am going to loan you money to start your own clinic." And I'm like, "Whoa, okay." Like, I know nothing about nothing. Okay. They do not teach you business 101 in medical school, right? So I was like, "Okay, I think I can do this." Well, here I am. I sign a contract with this doctor. He's giving me $50,000. I'm signing. I have an attorney. I've never had an attorney in my life. I am blind leading the blind, right? But I'm like fearless. I'm like, I can do this. I know I can do this. And so anyway, and he goes, "The best, fastest way to get patients is advertise weight loss. Just advertise all about your metabolism. Is your metabolism messed up? We can fix you." So I'm like, that sounds like a great idea, because I remember when I was 21 years old, my girlfriend and I, we shared food journals back and forth. And we would share, okay, what did you do? How did you exercise today? How many calories? I had those calorie books. So I go, I can do this because I've already done this before. So anyway, and he taught me a lot of little things that I needed to know, which was very, very beneficial. So sure enough, I am looking for space in Beverly Hills. I have never rented space in my whole life. I have never bought anything in my whole life. Here I am renting space at probably the most expensive place in the world. Okay. In the whole world. Okay. But at that time, I really didn't know that. I didn't know all that real estate knowledge or anything. So here I am negotiating space, tenant improvements, etc. Well, I become an expert in every facet. Okay. By just researching, reading, talking to this person, because I got to buy carpet. I got to buy a phone system. I've got to buy wallpaper. I've got to buy carpet. I've got to buy everything. This was shelf space, so I had to get a tenant improvement person who could draw the graphic design, everything. So it was like a whole lesson, but I was OCD. I'll never forget it, looking at probably 100 carpets, like what's going to withstand traffic, for example, right? And so anyway, I'll never forget phone systems. I couldn't look at 5 of them. I had to look at like 20 of them, right? Because that's the only way you learn. Even though you may choose the first one, you need to look at the 20 of them to make sure that that first one was right. So anyway, I successfully opened my my clinic. I kept track every single day of what I was doing. Okay. I had a nutritionist and an acupuncturist. I had my office. We daily kept track of who we were seeing, what we were doing, how we were getting our patients, because how you're getting your patients is how you're going to survive and thrive, right? So sure enough, we had intense follow-up. It's always wake up, show up, follow up. All those 3 things you got to do 24/7. Okay. If you don't do those things every day, like, life is just not going to happen. Right. So, and I still believe that today, you got to follow up on everything you're doing, especially my patients. So anyway, so I was so busy in 3 months that I had to open an Orange County office, which was an hour away. So here I am again, but now I'm a little smarter, not a lot smarter, a little smarter. What kind of space do I need? So forth. So I opened up a new office and had 2 offices, and I'm back and forth now. LA, Orange County, LA, Orange County. I did that for years, but I was young, had the, boundless energy. And so finally I decided, I can't keep doing this. I've got to decide on a place. So I decided on a place in Orange County to work in. Small, conservative clinic, didn't go too crazy. Well, I got so busy, I decided, well, now I need to take the big leap. I had to open up a nice office with a nutritionist, an exercise physiologist, me and other doctors. So I opened this. We have a large shopping center called South Coast Plaza. It's probably the largest, most successful shopping center in the world. Okay. And so I opened up across the street. I had ground floor, and I knew how to decorate it. I knew from all the offices I've done, I finally got it down what I needed to have. Anyway, well, an interesting thing happened. I opened up my practice, had my practice there for a while. Well, people long time ago, when I first started practicing, had private insurance plans. Well, something called HMOs, PPOs came in, and they came in big in California. HMOs was a health maintenance organization, and PPOs was a preferred provider organization. And in order to see they had big groups of patient populations, right? And you had to be a member. Well, I was not aware of what was going on in medicine as far as being part of these organizations. So my practice in a week went from lots of patients to very little patients because all these patients had these PPOs and HMOs. Well, the HMO is the doctor gets paid $10 a month to see however many patient lives he has. And I'm like, now I don't know how that system's going to work. And how could I probably take care of a person with $10 a month and hopefully not seeing them? And I'm like, I don't know if I could do that. So I said, no, I'm not going for that program. I'll go for the PPO. So I signed up on all the PPO plans, but I had to literally close that office down, shut that corporation down, and start ground zero again. So here I go. And these other doctors, I said, can I come share an office with you? Sure enough, they decided, to take me in. So I had this little office and a couple of exam rooms, and I started with the new era of medicine. Okay. Never once, though, did I say, oh my God, the end of the world has arrived. I just went, I got to pivot. This is what I got to do. Okay. If you start victimizing, you will lose your vision. So it's like, no, I'm going to adjust and pivot. So that's what I did. Sure enough, that office got so busy that I had to open up another office. I opened up another office, probably 15 miles and 15 minutes away, close enough. Luckily, every office I've ever been, people always say, oh, they're not going to follow you. No. They're going to follow you if you are dedicated to your customer, or my case, patient. Okay. So sure enough, I started that office in Tustin, California. I grew, went third floor, first floor. And then I finally said, I had to open up another office in South County. And I'm like, okay, we've gotten so big, I can't keep track of everything. So then I said, okay, so I did that several years though. Got everything down to a science of what we needed, the staff we need, et cetera. So anyway, I decided to buy one big space, all right, and put all these offices in one central space in Orange County. Orange County is a unique area of about 3.5 million people. It's got 34 counties. So if you're centralized, in an area, people can get you from everywhere. So sure enough, I get a broker and I wanted shell space, and got shell space, which means it was dirt, and it was not built out. It just had some walls, just exterior walls. And then sure enough, I built everything from the ground up. I'd already done a lot of TIs and all those graphics. So I already knew what I wanted, because in my field, even though I'm a medical doctor, I'm not a conventional medical doctor. I believe healing should be an experience. Okay. And if you remember, you may not be old enough, but in the olden days, it's like they had those sliding glass doors and are you supposed to be here? And are you available? I mean, it was like standoffish. It was like off-putting. And I'm like, that's not the way, no, healing needs to be like we're partners. And so I created this beautiful mecca of healing, okay, which is the space I have today. And I only bought, and I decided I'm not going to rent anymore. I'm going to buy space. So I bought 10,000 square foot condo. It was a condo in an office building. So I bought a 10,000 square foot condo, built it all out how I wanted it. My husband is MacGyver, so he helped. We'd go swap meets, buy floral hangings. I didn't hire an interior designer. I did everything ourselves. because I mean, you hired an interior designer. First of all, they don't have your vision, okay, of what I want. Okay. It wasn't like I was building something that was in 10 other places. This was something very unique. So, and I said, I have to build it indestructible because when you have hundreds and hundreds of people. So I thought, okay, what kind of materials are going to outlast, but that have no timing. They're not going to have wear and tear. And so I designed every single thing like that. And now I've now tripled that space. So to where I am today. But I learned from my past is what you always learn. You learn from failures. Even though you kick yourself in the ass, because you're like, how could I have doing that? Why didn't I look at that one last thing? But that's when you don't, keep failing. Is those lessons. You don't learn on the mountaintop. You learn in the darn valley, because that's where enlightenment takes place. So anyway, now I am where I am today. And I'm really not trying to grow. I'm trying to grow worldwide, but not in a clinic way, in a more presence with, Instagram and Twitter and podcast and this kind of talk, these kinds of things. That's how I'm trying to grow.
When did you think of yourself first as an entrepreneur? I doubt it was in the babysitting years, although that's what you were doing. It probably wasn't in college, maybe not until later. When did you think of yourself as an entrepreneur?
I feel really special that Peter thinks I'm an entrepreneur. Because when you think of entrepreneur, you think of, Peter Thiel and Bezos and, what like all those Steve Jobs, small, etc. So, but I guess it is that, but I think, when you think entrepreneur, sometimes you think, okay, I'm just like, I need to make money. Well, I never really even thought about that. I just like, no, I love medicine. I love taking care of people, and I'm going to make a living at it. And never did I think back, like you said, babysitting, but it's funny you said that, because I did babysit, and I had so many families that I babysat for because they liked me. I could clean their kitchen and take care of their 3 kids all at the same time. So, and I was 11 or 12 years old, because back then you could hire someone that young, right? But then I taught piano. I started a piano studio because I was a pianist. And so I taught piano. And so I did, I tutored, I taught chemistry. So I've done all these things and, in my life, and it's so interesting how they now fit into where I am today. So yeah, luckily I had lots of physical energy, and I had so many interests in life about everything. And so now, though, I see that the heart of an entrepreneur, I think it really happened when I opened up the big clinic across the street from South Coast Plaza. I thought, no, I am building a destination. This is a place where a lot of people are going to come, because this doesn't exist in conventional medicine. And then when I was slapped down to nothing and having to close that business, I'm like, okay, start all over. It's okay. So I started now. Then that's when I'm like, no, I got to think. I got to know the environment of everything, how everything works. We got to set up the different profit centers correctly of what we're doing. And so when I expanded in that clinic, that's when I said, okay, now is when I really got to get the business 101 in place. And so, and that's where we are today, because I had one of my patients this week come in. He's 78. He still works, and he drives very far to see me. But he says, Dr. Keelan, I need you to consult with me. I want to build a clinic in Bakersfield, and I know you have this down. I need to pick your brain about everything, what you're doing and how to implement it. Because now I started literally from ground zero, okay? Literally. And you have to have ground zero so you know the higher levels. So you have to know how they answer the telephone. You have to know how they receive a patient. You have to know all these things, or how can you teach them, right? So if you haven't done every position in your office, there's no idea. There's no way you know what to expect and what the standard of excellence is supposed to be, right? Unless you have done it yourself. So you have to do it. So don't ever think that something is too below you. And in fact, the goal in every single person's life, the goal in every person's life, you know what it should be? Is to be the ultimate servant. No question about it. If you can go at life like that, I'm telling you, the fulfillment that you get will be beyond anything you can imagine.
How do you think about success? And how would you define success these days? And how do you measure that for yourself?
So when you think about relationships, you think about external, but your first relationship is your family. Okay. Those are the first relationship. That's the first thing you develop from in utero when your mother is pregnant with you, is there's a relationship occurring. And then you are growing up in relationships, whether it's your family, your friends, caretakers, whoever it is. Okay. Then as you go along, it's going to be your teachers, and it's going to be your professors. And now I believe, like, I was thinking that question, and I'm like, well, I have, I mean, an abundance of relationships, and so many. I'm like, okay, I can call this person and talk to them about this. I don't care what it is. There isn't anyone that I don't have on my mailing list that I can say, okay, I have this very, very strong bond with these people. And then what is the patientship? The patient relationship is everything. So you're going to have success in patient care all because of the relationship and connection. But think about it. Your bank, your attorney, let's say there's a minister, maybe there's, I think every single person I deal with in my clinic, I have a relationship. A girl just came in to tell, one of my staff said, oh, Dr. Connealy, she's one of my one of my front office people. She goes, Dr. Connealy, I just want you to know I've lost 11 pounds. Now, I've never told her a weight. Now, do you know that we are very conscientious about lifestyle in this clinic, because we're all about preventive, proactive, personalized medicine. So I said, and I always have said to myself, she is a beautiful girl and just wonderful spirit. And I said, but, and she mentioned to me about losing weight. And I said, well, we will help you. I said, we have our nutritionist. I will order blood work. You tell me what you need, and I'm going to make this happen. So sure enough, she told me today, she goes, Dr. Connealy, I've lost 11 pounds, because the first decision in weight loss is deciding you're going to do it, right? So anyway, I said, oh my God, this is amazing. I gave her a hug. I said, congratulations. This is just fantastic. Okay. And I said, well, how did you what started all this? She goes, well, Dr. Connealy, I cut out junk food. And I'm thinking to myself, well, like, of course. All right. But everything isn't of course to everybody. Right. And I said, one other thing you can do is, walk around our building several times a day. She goes, Dr. Connealy, I'm already doing that. I'm climbing hills. And I said, oh my God, this is amazing. So I said, I encourage you to stay with it. So it's those kinds of things. That's a relationship. But she felt so comfortable. I have 70 employees. She felt so comfortable with me that she could talk about it. But I was so happy that I could incite in her the changes she needs to make in her personal life. So I believe everything is relationship. Think about your day. Think how incredible your day is if all day long you've just had beautiful relationships from the time you wake up with your significant other, if that's the case it may be, and that person is funny and laughing and, making, we don't all wake up funny and laughing, but I'm just saying, my kids, 2 of my kids are home, and, it's so interesting. My grown boy, he's already at the computer working, and I kiss him on the neck. And he goes, "Oh, mommy, I love you so much." He's 26 years old. Okay. But that is what makes the day. It's all those little beautiful moments that add up to life. And so to me, success is fulfillment in those relationships.
Any recommendations or things that have been helpful for you over the years, and especially in tough economic times or tough personal times, that you have found valuable for you?
I'm 63, so of course I've had lots of trials. Okay. And one big trial I've had has been dealing with my own health. I know I don't look unhealthy. And that old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. But I've had extreme health challenges, which has enabled me to know what I know now, though. Okay. Because when you read a book, and you're living the story, but really living the story is having gone through it. But I also, in business, these times are very, very unusual. 2008, 2009, here I am in my clinic that I bought, not prepared for this outrageous recession. So, of course, I got scared to death because I'm like, oh my God, I have this outrageous payment. I've got all these employees. What am I going to do? So my husband's an attorney. We sit down. I'll never forget this because my kids. So my staff took a 20% pay cut. They said, we don't want to quit, but we will take a pay cut. So all of them took a 20% pay cut. And then I decided that I would not get paid at all. And my husband would carry the brunt of what we needed. And you don't need much in life. All right. You need a bed. You need some shoes to wear. You need a roof over your head and some food to eat and love. And that's about all you need, right? You don't need all this extraneous stuff that you think you need, right? So that people are constantly trying to have. And so sure enough, and I went from patient to patient to patient. All they would tell me is how stressed they are. Every single patient without fail, okay? Telling me in their own world how stressed. And what do? I sat there, listened to what they had to tell me. And I said, okay, well, this is what we're going to do, and so forth and so on. And so I'll never forget it. There wasn't a patient that wasn't stressed. I don't know if you remember that time. So, and it went on for a very, very long time until probably the last really couple of years. So it went, I mean, the recession lasted, even though people say we got out of it, it lasted a good, probably, I'd say almost 10 years. All right. And you had to get creative with doing new businesses. Okay. Well, we had a pause this year with the pandemic. And unfortunately, there's a lot of information out there and no one really knows because it's new. So when there's something new thrown at us, an expert doesn't even know, right? It's like people get diagnosed with these 1 in a jillion cancers. And the doctor goes, well, there's only one case on the universe, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. So he ponders and thinks about it, and then he starts throwing darts. Well, maybe we'll try this, right? So now, though, we're really in a better situation. Okay, we had a pause, and we had a pause of togetherness, believe it or not, because there isn't anyone who wasn't together with someone, right? Because they're well, other than the people that are alone, which is not good. But if you are married, you're with that person. If you have grown kids, they're all home with you, or they're talking to you a lot. And what a concept that people are now talking to one another. Okay, and so but I do think that it's just a temporary thing, and I think that the intimacy of family came back, the intimacy of togetherness, and understanding like the only thing you really needed is really food. When you think about it, the only thing you needed was food. And so, and we're coming out of it. Things are opening up. It's been, it's funny. I went to get my hair blow dried and she's a salon artist. And so I said, so tell me, she's like 25 years old. So, and I'm sure she probably lives paycheck to paycheck. So I said, so how are you doing? She goes, I'm great. And I said, that's wonderful. And it was her first day back at work. So I said, well, how did you do during this time that you couldn't work? She goes, do you know that I have never had 2.5 months off in my life? And I did all these wonderful things that I've never been able to do. So I'm listening to her like, yes. So if you just look at the beauty of the situation, I personally, because I'm a doctor, I was able to work. And I don't know if my patients are different or we're different, but a lot of doctors didn't work. And I heard that I interviewed a physician yesterday and she goes, oh, yeah, my clinic shut down. And I'm like, whoa. So I don't even know why you're shutting down, because what is a doctor supposed to do? A doctor signed up to serve and treat and examine patients. So what is going on here? So, but the doctors themselves were scared, but we're supposed to be frontline people, right? And, so we never closed in my clinic. We saw patients all day long, all of our staff. All the staff knew what to do to stay healthy. And we survived and thrived. And I think people are all going to do the same. I know that all the industries are going back. And I think this is temporary. I think it's a temporary adjustment. And I think people brought more meaning into their lives, honestly. And because it made them reflect on things. I think for the people that are alone, though, I think it made them feel more lonely. I have several patients who work at home and they're like, we're ready to go back to work. Being alone at home is not good for us, because a lot of people were talking about commercial real estate and how it's going to go down in the tank and so forth and so on. First of all, there's very few people who are autopilot and disciplined to stay and work and live in the same place. Okay. So that is not going to happen. And I hear it now with the patients, because I have patients from A to Z, and they're all telling me different interesting stories, but none of them we're designed to be around people. In fact, the single greatest risk factor for being alive is your social environment. So for everyone, that's more important than food and everything else. It's who do you have around you? So we're designed to be these, outrageous social beings. And so I don't think that there are going to be empty office buildings whatsoever. So I think it sounds like a really good idea in the beginning, but it's not going to happen and it's not going to work.
Can you share a little bit about that standard of excellence you have and how you instill that in others and what creates that experience for those patients that you serve every day?
Everyone should have a standard of excellence and integrity, period. It's just like that should be what it is, right? And the first and foremost thing is, if you do not have your health, and health is not being healthy. Health is it's a mental, emotional, physical well-being. Okay, that's the definition. All right. And so you have to start with yourself. And a lot of people wake up autopilot. They live their life. They're not mindful of their existence. They're not conscious of what's going on in their life. And I live life every day very mindfully and consciously. So I have a routine. You have to have a routine of life, because your body has what we call something called a circadian rhythm. And we need to honor and respect that circadian rhythm. Whether you like it or not, it exists. Okay. It's like this miracle of your body, Tim, it exists. And there is a set of rules and bylaws and standards that it functions. And then when you do not honor and respect those laws, then that's when we have chaos. So we have to live a way to manifest this excellence, right? So, if you don't sleep right, you're not going to feel good tomorrow. Okay. If you don't drink water, if you don't eat the foods that nourish and strengthen your body, if you do not get in the mindset every day, like I tell every single patient, you are the cure, not me. I am just your teacher for today, but you are the cure. You're the architect of the destiny. I'm going to help you with the other things, but you're the one directing yourselves every single day. And so, but we are not taught from early on how to be excellent and how our body works. And people just know, your eyes blink and your nose smells and you use your tongue to eat and talk, but how does all that work and how does it all matter? And it matters when pain comes in your life. Well, we can't wait all the time for pain to come into our life. We have to learn how to be proactive individuals, because if you not, your life is not going to be good. Okay. And I have children, and I have taught my kids early on and still do. I still teach them. They're grown adults, but you're still a parent. Whether they're 50 years old, you're still a parent. And you've got to embrace these rules of excellence. And they start with your health. They start with how, also treat yourself. It's just like here every day. It's not what I tell my staff. It's what I model. What do I model? It's like your kids. It's never what you tell them, because they tune you out. They've been living with you. They tune you out. It's all what you model every day. So if I don't come in here addressing, acknowledging every single person that I run into, then they're not going to acknowledge me. Okay. So I have to acknowledge them. Good morning. It's going to be the best day ever, or whatever I say. And a lot of them come and hug me, whatever it is, but that is excellence. Okay. And I believe that people are like mindless about life. It's like going to the grocery store. Okay. I used to be a cashier when I was 16 years old, and I knew all my customers. I knew everyone by name. I knew everything. Okay. And I made my day great because I treated all my customers like they're like my family. And that's just the way we all need to live life. It's amazing now. You go to the grocery store and they don't even say hello to you. All right. And I'm like, wow, they're going to have a miserable day when they're going to go home because they did not engage. And so excellence for me is just like every single part of your life, you're trying to be the best. And if you don't know how to be the best, well, there's your cell phone that can tell you how to be the best at anything. All right. And so, or go find someone you think is great and go ask them, how did you do that?
Well, you've all had the opportunity now to have the Connealy effect. I've had this for years, and Erin definitely has an effect on all the people she touches. But as she was going through the stories that she was telling, she reminded me of a story that I'd like to give her, because she's epitomizes this story. And it's about the little Indian boy. He looked up at the old Indian elder, and he asked for some help. And what you're going through times like we're going through now, when you can see the bleakness, you can see all of the chaos and all of the looting and all of the sadness that's out there right now. And you ask some people, then you can see there's opportunity that's out there. There's the new age, the new idea. We need new solutions to solve all these old problems. So the little boy asking the old Indian, he said, I have these two wolves inside me. One is one that hates, and he's a killer, and he's mean, and he's ugly. That's the one wolf. The other wolf is happy and positive and loves life. Which wolf am I going to be? Which one's going to win? Which one's going to take over? And the old Indian, he says, the one you feed. And Erin, she exudes that positive wolf, in her. And so, Erin, would you give us all today? And I'm so blessed and thankful that you've given us our time and put this on the record, because you are going to affect a lot of lives with this, because I'm going to ensure that I spend whatever I need to do to get this message that you've given as far as we can reach it. So thank you so much for being available for us. And we close another Peter Thomas Entrepreneurial Masterclass.